I think one of the things that comes through very clearly is I think I mentioned one which I think is what is actually the ambition of the person we're working with, right? Does she want to actually be a business person with a business that in the future is, genuinely profitable, has a balance sheet, and she could go to the bank with it to borrow money to expand, and etc. Or are we really looking at a very valuable, effectively a community service that pays for itself, right? And that is liberating because it frees up people's time, it gives them better quality of output, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really need to be a business, right? So that's one of the things. Another one I think is that we have to think about whether there is a need for some sort of central operation, right? And if there is a central sort of governing operation, then is it just administrative? In other words, is it sort of a planning and governance type organization, right? So the so-called MMM, right, the Millennium Maize Mills entity is just basically to make sure that everybody sort of plays the game properly, in which case it's a cost center, right? Or alternatively, is it actually a profit center? In other words, it's providing either a good or a service that is something that these individual mills themselves couldn't provide, in which case then it's got to be creating something, right? It could be creating a business service, such as information services and training, but somebody would have to pay for that. Or it could be providing or producing a product or a service, right? I think one of the issues, if it just stays as a sort of an administrative and governance entity, is that it's a cost center. So somebody's got to pay for that. And these mills themselves are not going to be able to pay for it, which means that we're then locked into some sort of donor model forever, right? That doesn't sound very attractive, and it doesn't fit with Technoserve's philosophy of come in, do something of value, leave it intact and whole by itself, and then find a way to exit, right? So that doesn't feel right. Because at 40. Then each mill paying a few dollars a month, right, as some sort of franchise fee, effectively a franchise fee, could conceivably pay for the central services, right? So that with real scale, then that central entity maybe could be used to be a cost center. Nevertheless, whether that's the right answer for the central entity is another matter, right? I think there are some situations where our answer could be the wrong answer, right? So we could easily come along and believe that we have buy-in from a bunch of people, and we could do what we believe is the right thing, and we could end up building, a proper little mill with the right equipment, and get them all set up with what we believe is what we call value chains, sort of linkages, so they're connected to various people, and so on. And it could turn out that 2 years later it's complete failure, right? And so one of the real learnings was by thinking of these contextual factors, right, and looking at it a bit more holistically, then we could kind of hold back on that and be a bit more selective, and also I think be a lot more responsive to what people were looking for, right? Because with some of these mills, it's really just going to be a convenience service. It will never really be a business. So if they can just operate at a level of break-even, right, then that would be quite okay, right? With others, there really is an entrepreneur, if we can find her or him, but typically it's her we're after, who really wants to make this a business and really wants to scale, right? And so our objective is to have scalable, mills that will have an impact, right? Have a nutrition impact, have an income impact, right? But we could easily misread the tea leaves.
I think that you never know what the problems are going to be in an innovation situation. And it's just an iterative thing where you keep bouncing against the problems and finding solutions and going different directions. And this book on innovation says that the best thing to have when you're innovating is a group of people who have all been through previous innovations. They can come from different backgrounds. Some can be engineers, some can be this, they can be that, they can be all sorts, it doesn't matter. You get some diversity from having different people from different backgrounds, but the real thing that they have is that they've all started new stuff, and they kind of have the sense of how do you jump from here, jump to there. Synesia is focusing on the milling, developing the group of millers, and seeing what their needs are as millers and as businesses just milling, and then starting a new one and with maybe smaller, with us providing everything rather than the existing one with Fatima where she already is there and already successful. So maybe try to bring a few up from not, just from zero, to show that we can do that, utilizing what we learned from Fatima.